Welcome to episode 10 of the Stoke Event podcast. This episode is with British-born New Zealand firefighter Matt Akers. Matt moved from the UK to New Zealand 13 years ago after having worked for Kent Fire and Rescue Service and London Fire Brigade, and now works as a firefighter in Auckland. We talk about moving from one side of the world to the other and the strains this can place on someone and on family. We talk about growing up and making friends. We delve into mental health and what seeking help looks like, where it takes us and how to get there. Just generally have a bit of a chat about life's ups and downs. This is a good, honest conversation with a little bit for everyone. I'd also like to point out that at the time of recording, New Zealand did not have presumptive legislation for firefighters in place. However, I'm so pleased to acknowledge that at the end of July, the New Zealand Greens announced a bill to presume occupational cancer for firefighters. This is massive news, and hopefully more countries will follow this excellent example of providing dedicated and deserving support to the health and safety of firefighters. On another note, and totally unrelated, I'd also like to acknowledge the recent passing of Nims Purja and all of the climbers that lost their lives in the recent avalanche on Broad Peak in Pakistan. Nims is briefly mentioned towards the end of the episode, the recording of which took place before the incident on Broad Peak, and it only seemed right to tip my hat in respect. On that note, thank you for being here. I hope you enjoy the episode. Here we go with episode 10. Good to see you, mate. What time is it there?
It is 10 o'clock. Just gone past 10.
Yeah, cool. Sound well. Thank you for putting the time in to come and speak to me. I guess we'll just kick straight off with a bit about your personal background, mate. If you want to just talk us through your personal background, sort of where you grew up, how you came up, and how you've ended up where you are, because I know you've done a bit of travelling around, and looking at your backstory, it looks very interesting and eventful. So talk us through it and a bit about Matt Akers and who you are, mate.
So I started off being born up in Yorkshire, at Catterick. My old man was a medic in the army, so
right.
Started life up there as a Yorkshireman.
Catterick, is that West Yorkshire?
Near enough, yeah. There's a big military base there, so
cool.
Big garrison.
I'm from Hull, so not too far.
Oh, yep. Very similar. Yeah, and then we got shipped out to Canada for a few years, kind of travelled around a bit in the military. And then kind of settled in the southeast of England, hence why I don't sound like a Yorkshireman. I'm more like a soft southerner.
There's definitely a Kiwi twang in there as well.
Yeah. Been here for, 13, 14 years now, so it's kind of rubbing off quite a bit. So kind of grew up in the southeast of England, bounced around schools, ended up in an agricultural boarding school in Somerset. And then college, and then kind of, mainly all in the southeast of England. Kent was most probably my home, I suppose, where I stayed the most. And that was the first fire service I joined, was Kent Fire and Rescue Service. So brought up in the south, general kind of schooling, I suppose. Hated schooling, as most firefighters do.
Yeah, I can sympathise with you there.
Yeah. I think it was mainly because from an early age, I was diagnosed with dyslexia, and kind of back in the early 80s, it wasn't really, I suppose, as popular as it is now, or as recognised. So, really struggled through schooling and just rebelled quite a bit. It was a bit of a nightmare for my parents, I suppose.
Yeah, so there's quite a sort of dismissive attitude towards it, wasn't there? As with a lot of neurodivergence and learning difficulties, it was just kind of, get on with it, really, wasn't it? And it's, I guess it's only recently now, even now, really, it's becoming more accepted, isn't it? And
Yeah, and I think
less seen as the naughty kid.
yeah,
Really.
and I think social media has definitely helped with that. People can be more vocal about dyslexia and how it affects them as a youngster and as an adult, and the positives around it as well. It's not all negative. Yeah, I think social media has definitely played in a good way. Social media has definitely helped with dyslexia and all the other bits and pieces that are out there.
Yeah, definitely. Do you think that influenced your path into the fire service then? Because I think a lot of people, I was having this conversation with somebody recently, actually. There's a lot of neurodivergence in the fire service, probably more than people realise, and a lot of people in the fire service that have an element of it and have no idea. I think it just that kind of person, I think, gravitates towards that kind of profession. So was it because it was hands-on and it was, it's physical and exciting? I think a lot of neurodivergent people seek out excitement, don't they, as well?
Yeah. It wasn't that. Yeah, it was an element of practicality, I suppose, with me. That's kind of why I joined. And a couple of my mates were doing it. I joined when I was 19, so 1999, I joined as a retained firefighter. I think they call them on-call now, or part-time.
Yeah, on call. Yeah, I still say, I think the correct, well, I think the preferred term is retained. I think it was the NFCC that coined the on-call term. But I think preferred, I think most people that are retained, I think still say retained.
Yeah.
From what I know.
Yeah. So I joined at 99 in Campfire Fire Brigade. It was then Campfire Rescue Service now, a little station in Aldington outside Ashford. And a couple of my mates were doing it. And by that point, I'd kind of gone through schooling, just finishing up college, and was just looking for something to interact with other people and be a bit more practical. And hooning around in a fire engine just sounded like a good crack, to be honest with you.
Yeah, pretty similar to me, really. I just kind of fell into it, and someone told me about it, and I was like, yeah, I'll give that a go. Sounds pretty good. And within a couple of months, it was like, I'm in the right place.
Yeah.
And
it kind of, the fire service and all, I suppose, most first responder services attract practical people. I'm far more happier being in someone's garage or a workshop tinkering with stuff than I am sitting in front of a computer doing coding. Most of the people I speak to and have bumped into over the years are all practical people.
Yeah. So what did you do? What did you do alongside return then? Did you have another job at the time?
Yeah, heaps. It was, I struggled to kind of find momentum in a career path. So I've painted a submarine. I have worked in bars, restaurants, all your typical, that kind of spectrum between 19 and 20. And then I kind of settled down to a career in the fire. So about 24, 25, I suppose. Did a little apprenticeship as a chippy, or half my apprenticeship. Yes, every kind of job you can imagine. But the fire service was one of the constant things that maintained, I suppose, that retained side of things.
Very similar to myself, really. Yeah, very similar.
A lot of people have got the same story, when they speak about retained. It's you obviously get quite a lot of people that have a career, like they're an office worker and they're retained, at night and at weekends. But a lot of people, especially youngsters, they kind of bounce around and do the retained stuff on the side and at weekends and have a great time doing it.
Yeah. So how did your sort of career sort of pan out then? Because I know you've worked for different services and in different countries. I'd be interested to hear about the trajectory of your career and how you progressed, through the fire service, really, and ended up working in the different places you have.
Yeah, man. As a lot of youngsters, love the retained side of things. And kind of at some point it just clicked and I was like, I could actually make a living from this, all being quite small living. But, wanted to make it a part-time thing. So I literally spent maybe the next, I don't know, I suppose 6 years applying for different whole-time services, failing at different hurdles. It was kind of when the I think I failed a couple of times for London, just putting a tick down instead of a cross, or using a blue pen instead of a black pen, or, so I went from retained, I was retained for about 9 years. The last 5 years of that, I was actually a full-time firefighter at Lead Airport in Kent, which is a minuscule, tiny little airport, but was a kind of a great place to cut my teeth in aviation fire service, because we used to train at Teesside Airport at the fire service college up there. So that was 5 years. I ended up being a crew manager of one of the watches. Then, what happened then? So Lead. Then kind of my life kind of got turned a little bit upside down, and went through a separation, and basically decided to sell everything, move out of the village I was kind of grew up sort of in, and go traveling around the world. So then spent 6 months bunny hopping, went through the States, Fiji, New Zealand, Australia and Thailand. And kind of in the background, I'd been applying for London Fire Brigade, applied for Kent Fire Brigade whole time. And back then it was kind of, when you applied, it took about 3 years. You kind of went into a pool, and then they dragged people through as they had recruit courses coming up. So I was actually in Bangkok, and I was emailing the recruitment team in London and said, look, because I'd gone through this point, this is as furthest I've ever got, and I'd gone through all the application, the maths and English test, the practical test, the fitness test. And I'd emailed them and said, hey, have you got a job for me? Because otherwise I'm going to go back to New Zealand, because I quite like it there. Yeah. And the lady came back to me a couple of days later and said, yeah, you start, sorry, we were meant to email you, you start in October. And this was kind of January time. So I was like, okay, sweet. Headed back to the UK, cut lawns for 10 months, a landscaping company, and joined London Fire Brigade with those guys for about 5 years before moving to New Zealand.
So what prompted the move to New Zealand then? Was that you felt like a change? You strike me as a guy that gets itchy feet. Do you think that's an accurate assessment?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And it can be itchy feet in a good way. But so the reason why I moved, I met my wife, or my now wife, in New Zealand. I was a backpacker when I came here, traveling for a month, and she was my tour guide. She was my bus driver.
Oh, right, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I eventually came back to the UK, joined London Fire Brigade, and about a year and a half later, Ginny, my wife, came out to do her OE, which is overseas experience, and then stayed in the UK for about 3 or 4 years, and then we moved back. So when we got together, there was because we were kind of 26, 27, I suppose, at that point. There was kind of an open, frank conversation about where we wanted to live in the world, and New Zealand won by a mile to bring up a family. So that was the reason for moving. But it was a hard decision to leave, because I tried for so long to get into the whole time. And especially London, it's hard to get it. There's so many thousands of people apply each year. And I was at a good station. I was at Battersea, which is a rescue station. Had a good watch, Blue Watch, Battersea. And I remember my governor, he was just like, you sure you want to do this? And, you don't want to take a sabbatical, or you just, and I was like, no, I'm good. So and that was the reason why we moved to New Zealand, or my wife moved back and I moved over.
I bet that was quite a difficult conversation, especially coming from, the pair of you being from literally opposite sides of the planet. That is it's a big conversation to have, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And it comes with a lot of things you don't really think about at the time. You kind of put rose-tinted glasses on and you're like, oh yeah, we're going to go move to another country and set up a new life. And it's not until you're here that you suddenly go, oh, actually, I don't know anyone, and got no mates. I've got no job. What do I do now? So it was, the decision, it wasn't easy. I definitely had to think about it, because I've left all my family in the UK. I've got no brothers and sisters. I'm an only child, and I've got the only grandchild the other side of the world. So that comes with a lot of weight to it, I suppose, a lot of responsibility. And it was, but people always ask me, would you ever move back? And my answer is always no. We've managed to give my daughter a great life here, and she would have had a great life in the UK, like all families would have, but here is just, I don't know. I still have maybe rose-tinted glass on, but I think here's a great place to bring up a family.
I mean, how long have you been there now?
13 years, I think about 13. I keep forgetting to add the years on.
You've still got the rose-tinted glasses on after 13 years. I think they're probably staying on, aren't they?
Yeah,
coming off,
so,
are they?
Yeah.
So what was the kind of what was the reaction like from family then? Was there any pressure to make a decision one way or the other, or was it kind of like just we're happy for you regardless of your decision kind of thing?
No, it definitely went down like a cup of cold sick.
Right, okay.
I think when I was backpacking around New Zealand, I kind of had a really good feel. I was here for a month, travelled around both islands, and again, you're not really here. You're experiencing all the good things here. So I remember calling home, and I remember saying, "Look, this is an amazing place, and this is definitely somewhere I want to come back to." And then over the years, obviously having a relationship with a Kiwi bus driver, we came back several times for friends' weddings and families' weddings and bits and pieces. So yeah, it was a difficult conversation with family. And it wasn't until, like, for instance, my mum, when she first came out here, after I think they spent about 4 weeks out here, and after that she looked at me and she basically said, yeah, I understand why now. I don't think she could maybe before.
Yeah.
But she had a bit of an inkling because when we lived in Canada, my mum wanted to stay in Canada and, loved the lifestyle over there. So she kind of knew, and my dad, knew that there was life outside of England, and the UK. So, and I've been a bit transient going to boarding school and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, I think if any family member moves away from their family home or family area, it's always difficult and hard. It's not an easy decision,
I totally get it, to be honest. My brother lives in Canada. Right. He's been out there for 7 years. So I see him, we're only 3 years apart. So we grew up pretty close. I see him a couple of times a year. I completely understand that sort of upheaval and the moving, moving away, and it's kind of quite a shock, isn't it? From the, I guess, the other perspective, it's a shock, but it's, I just want him to be happy and enjoy his life, really. Yeah. And we keep in touch, and when we do see each other, it's quality time. So it's, if he's happy, I'm happy, kind of thing. So I get that, and I get the pull out there, because we've been out. Me and my missus have been out to Canada a couple of times, and we're going out again the end of this year for an extended period of time. So yeah, I completely get the urge to kind of put down roots somewhere else or explore and consider moving elsewhere. It is always there is always just a pull, and that you always think the grass is greener, and it does sound like the grass is greener on the other side for you. So, if you're still feeling like that, that's great.
Yeah, I mean, wherever you go in the world, you still have problems. You still have money problems. You still have social problems. It took me many years to feel settled, I suppose. And I was lucky because half of my family was New Zealand, so they from here. So I instantly had in-laws and a brother-in-law. And whereas I think the people that struggle the most are the families that move completely. They've got no grandparents, no brothers or sisters or siblings or anyone with them, and they move to a country. And the crazier ones are the ones that do it without even going to that country. They're just nuts. But it's not until you're there and you're living it and you're trying to find work and trying to make relationships and friends that you suddenly realize, well, that was actually quite a big thing. It's not a trivial thing moving to another country. I mean, we're lucky that everyone speaks English, and it's very similar, but also very different. I can't imagine what it's like moving to a country where maybe English isn't another language, a second language, or it's completely different,
Yeah, it must. I can't imagine. It's just a whole other kind of ball game, isn't it? Really, I think it's one thing, like you say, moving to another country, but if it's a different language and you've got to learn another language, it kind of humbles me really when I come across people that speak multiple languages, and you can pretty much. I think we're very we're quite ignorant, I think, in this country in terms of the way we expect everybody else to speak our language. And you go on holiday and everyone speaks English, and you get foreigners over here that speak perfect English, and they've integrated really well. Whereas we kind of go elsewhere, we will travel across the world and just expect everyone to speak English, and not that is a generalization, but I think there is a culture where English is such a wide spoken language that there is just kind of a subconscious expectation that everyone will just speak English, and it's not always the case. Yeah. So what kind of, how has that kind of impacted your life since? I wanted to ask you, I imagine it's been a very rewarding experience for you as well. And I'm sure that there's been difficulties, like you say, leaving family behind. So how would you weigh the positives against the negatives? Is it a constant kind of attempt to balance the scales, or is it kind of clear cut? It's definitely you're in the right place and the positives outweigh the negatives kind of thing.
I think I've been here long enough now that all the kind of negatives are kind of all leveled themselves out. Definitely the first couple of years it was just tricky, tricky navigating social environments. So when you make your best friends, kind of between that, I don't know, 16 and 24, I suppose, because everyone's having relationships, breaking up, getting married, getting divorced, buying houses, having events that happen, and those bonds, because you're going through those hard times, those bonds with your friends become really tight. So then to move as an adult into a society or an area where you don't have that, it's quite hard to make adult friends. And I don't think a lot of people talk about that very much. That's, as someone who was, early 30s, I suppose, by the time I moved over, to then try and make those adult friends. You make lots of adult connections, like, especially in the fire service, all of a sudden you've got heaps of acquaintances and really good people that you can rely on, but they're like a different type of friend. They're not, they're not that school friend or that 21-year-old friend that you've, had all these experiences with. So understanding that and learning that took quite a few years to realize that the friends that I make now as an adult or as an older adult are completely different to what they were. I don't, and coming to that realization that within myself, that I don't need that at this stage of my life. That took a long time.
It's a really good point, actually. Yeah, you don't bond in the same way, do you, that you do with your friends that you're growing up with, because you're having those formative experiences together. And I still see me schoolmates. We go camping once a year, and I can not see him for a year, and it's like I saw him yesterday. And I think that's because of the way you are, the way you grow up together. I think you're absolutely right there. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, and it's and a lot of people, like immigrants, when they come out or go somewhere, that doesn't actually cross their mind till they're kind of in it, and they're wondering why they're not getting invited around to barbecues, or they're not, all these things are happening. And it's because as an adult, sometimes you just don't have time to integrate another person into your life at that same level that you did when you were 21 and you were, going out drinking and making silly mistakes and stuff like that. So that took a long time. But like positives and
can I just do you think your priorities change as well? Do you think that's part of it?
100%, yeah. And then especially when you have a family, a partner, and then you have children come along, all of a sudden, all your priorities change. It's all that child, your children, your family. It's about putting food on the table, a roof over your head, and then somewhere down the list is trying to make a new friend, or And the fire service definitely helps, because I find I make the best friends when I'm doing the hardest things with those friends. And obviously, as a job, it can be a hard job. So you instantly kind of bond with people that way. So that's really helped me, I suppose. But yeah, the positives and negatives of the place. a lot of people say, what do you miss about the UK? And apart from missing friends and family, there's not a lot, so I don't really, maybe a good Cornish pasty or pork pie, I suppose. But I've met a lot of English people over here, that go back every 12 months. Right. And they, sometimes we're called ping pong poms because we come out with rose-tinted glasses, realize we're a long way away from everyone, and then go back. And then all of a sudden realize, well, the beaches aren't as nice in whatever area of the UK you're living in. And it's a little bit colder and the winters are longer. So they come back to New Zealand and then they kind of ping pong backwards and forwards. So, no, but I've been quite fortunate. I've settled quite well into the area we are. So yeah, I've enjoyed it. And yeah, I try not to look for the negatives because they're everywhere. Like if I was back in the UK, I'd there's always negative wherever you are. But yeah, having a family definitely helps kind of refocus your thoughts.
Yeah, I bet. So how often do you visit? Do you come back for a visit? Like have you got like a sort of a schedule, or is it just kind of as and when?
No, as and when. I think I've been back maybe twice, I think.
Wow, in twice in 13 years.
Yeah, much to the horror of my mother and my father, I suppose, and my dad.
I can imagine, yeah.
And it's not one for wanting to come back. Obviously, I want to come back and see everyone, but it's quite expensive when you're earning New Zealand dollars to fly around the other side of the world. And also the world is a very big place. And there's lots of places that are quite close that are really nice, like Fiji and Tonga and the Gold Coast of Australia.
What that screams at me is that the fact that you've been back twice in 13 years, that tells me you are very happy where you are.
Oh, absolutely. Like I said before, I've got friends, English colleagues that go back every year and they get a top up of Englishness. And I don't know if they're settled, or I think they are settled, because they've had family and stuff like that. But I think growing up, I was quite a transient bloke anyways, kind of moving around quite a bit. And yeah, I've always been settled wherever I'm most comfortable, and I'm quite comfortable here. So yeah.
I mean, that sounds great. Yeah, that just, you do strike me as someone that is very, you seem comfortable in yourself and you seem happy with where you are. And the fact that you've been able to move out there and settle and you don't feel that burning desire to be coming back. That just tells me that you've made the right decision and you're happy where you are. That's what that says to me.
Yeah, I was talking to a guy from a fire service in the UK, kind of reached out via another colleague and gave me I got his details. So I spoke to him for about an hour and a half and he's thinking about moving out. And I was kind of reiterating what we've just been speaking about, how you don't kind of think about all these things, not making friends or not having those good mates and having to start again and, all those kind of things. So yeah, it's a lot of things that people don't think about when they move to another country. It's not all beaches and sunshine. You've actually got to go and see a place. And, if I give any advice to anyone thinking about moving to any other country, is go there as long as you can or as often as you can, and don't go to the holiday resorts, go and see local people. Because it is very different. As soon as you step off the holiday vibe, it is just like a normal life anywhere else in the world.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? It's, if you visit somewhere, you're on holiday, you're not at work, you've got all your free time. But if you up sticks and you move somewhere, you've got to get a job. You've got to get
taxes.
That structure, that sort of fall into the grind. And I imagine it does. If it's the wrong place, it potentially would take the wind out of your sails and take the magic away. But obviously, if you are in the right place, then it's probably not going to make much difference. You're going to be happy regardless of what you're doing.
Yeah,
within reason.
Exactly. Yeah. And just being open-minded and not trying to compare where you are, where your feet are, to where you've come from. You know what I mean? So a lot of people I meet over here that are English, and we're also known as whinging poms. Because even in England, we like a moan. So when we're abroad, we also like a moan. And a lot of people, I not distance myself from English people sometimes, but The moany ones, I definitely don't go and talk to those because
it's part of the culture. Part of the culture, isn't it?
It is, unfortunately.
To complain and to whinge. We do like a good whinge, don't we?
Yeah.
So what's it like? You're in the fire service over there. Then what's it like compared to here? Many different. I imagine there's some striking similarities and a few differences. I wouldn't even take a guess at what they are, to be honest.
Yeah, no, they are very similar. Yeah, I spent when I first moved over, I worked as an arborist for a year for a local company here while I was kind of finding my feet, and then I went and worked at the international airport out at South Auckland, and I did that for 8 years, I think 8 or 9 years, I think it was. And then came over to the fire service. Over here, it's a national fire service, so we wear the same uniform in the North Island as the South Island.
Makes a lot of sense, that, to me, really, I think.
Yes, I agree with you. And for a country our size, it does, definitely. There are some caveats to that, especially when it comes around to equipment, sometimes policies and procedures. Because we are one body, we get tied into one contract or one stream of methodology, maybe, which we get stuck in that rut. You know what I mean? So, whereas in the UK, you've got, I don't know, 4 or 5 different rescue providers for equipment. Over here, we've only got one. And for another company to come into us and to break into that market is very hard. Yeah. So, yes, I definitely agree that it helps having a national fire service, easy for us to move around. One of the lads from my watch just moved down to Dunedin. He just applied for a position, got the job, moved down, and he's now working down there. There's no interview or cross-crediting things, or does that line up with this? So that definitely makes it a lot easier.
I think that's one of the things about being over here is, say you want to work, you work up north, you want to go and work down south, you kind of almost have to apply as though you have never done the job, don't you? And it's just crazy.
Yeah, that is madness. But the similarities from the UK fire service is, if I picked you up and gave you 2 weeks of a little bit of knowledge here, you'll be on the run, not a problem at all. We use the same hose, same couplings, same types of ladder, roughly the same kind of commands and the same kind of structure. We follow, it's all kind of came across from the UK anyway. So if you were to go to Australia, it would be roughly the same as well. We follow the same Swedish model in putting out compartment fires. Our trucks look a little bit different because our pump panels are on the side instead of at the back. We have 4 people on the fire engine. There's a boss, 3 firefighters. So it's very, very similar. And, same as with a Kiwi, a New Zealand firefighter, if we put them into England or to the UK, within a few weeks of a bit of guidance, they'd be fine, There's no massive difference, I would say, in the two organisations.
So you've been progressing through the ranks while you're there, haven't you? And you're you're currently looking at promotion. Yeah.
So over here we have a couple of little ranks within the fire service. It's not ranks, I'd say, more roles. When you come out your probation after 2 years, you are known as a qualified firefighter. So you got 1 red stripe around your helmet. Then you can go on and do a senior firefighter, which is 2 stripes around your yellow helmet. And then
just after a certain amount of time, that is it?
Yeah, you've got senior firefighter. You have to do 4 years, but you could do 10 years and then do your senior firefighter. There's no time frame on that.
It's like an exam, is it, kind of thing?
Yeah, there's the senior program, should I say, is you get loads of workbooks beforehand, and there's a course down in Nelson. It's 8 days, I think it is. There's an exam. So it's like a stepping stone, I suppose. Is
that a command position, like an incident command position, or no? You're just kind of a more experienced member of the crew?
Yes. Yeah. So when you look on the incident ground, if you just see a yellow helmet, they are, they've got up to 2 years under the belt. If it's got if the person's got a red stripe around the helmet, they've potentially 2 years and above, and then two red stripes means they've got a minimum of 4 years.
Oh, yeah.
So you could be a senior firefighter and have 30 years experience, and your markings on your helmet on the instant ground don't change until you step up into a station officer role.
Right, so it goes from senior firefighter to a station officer role, does it?
Yes, yeah. So on the fire engine, on our fire engines, we have 3 firefighters, a driver and 2 in the back, and then a station officer in the front left-hand seat. Their helmet's red.
Right.
With a blue stripe. And then we have, those fire engines are dotted around the city. And then we'll have what's known as a senior station officer. So that, I suppose, what would that be in English money? That might be, like a watch manager, because they're still riding the fire engine.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So it's like crew manager and watch manager then, isn't it?
Yeah. Very similar. Yeah. So a crew manager we would call that a station officer. A watch manager, we would call a senior station officer.
Right.
And then after that, then it jumps up to what we call group managers, or I think they've just changed to group commanders or something like that. Right. But yeah, so and they drive around the car. They're on a flexi duty system, Monday to Friday type job. So it's very similar to the UK. It's just called different things.
Just different terminology, but it sounds like a very similar structure. Yeah.
Very, as soon as we rock, if I was to rock up to a house where station officers in charge, it would be 2 pumps, potentially 3. They would sectorize just as we would do in the UK, either, front and back, or it'd be task sectorization. Someone would be fire attack, someone would be search and rescue, water. And then the senior station officer might turn up and take over the incident ground, and then a GM would turn up and, take over all commands. So it's very similar to the UK in that linear progression.
Yeah, it sounds it. You know what I did want to ask, is it something that's quite big here at the moment? What's the decon and cancer prevention and health and safety and stuff like? Is it a hot topic over there? Like it is over here at the moment?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I would say we are really progressive, more so than the UK. When I first moved over, when I left London, you might wash your BA set at the instant ground. Certainly wouldn't take off your fire gear. You might wash a shovel. And then you may or may not change your fire gear after a job, depending on how stinky you were. Whereas over here, it's, as soon as I joined the fire service over here, it was a completely different animal. So after any fire, even a car fire, at the instant site, you are derobed, gear goes in a bag, BA sets are washed off, we call it level 2s, but all your fire gear goes in some kind of locker space that you can find on the fire engine, but it's not in the cab. And then when you get back to station, you shower within the hour, fresh fire gear, BA sets recommissioned, equipment's cleaned. And then we have separate zones within the fire station as well. So we have sort of a dirty zone, which is the appliance bay. We have a transitional zone, which might be showers down on the ground floor, and then a clean zone, which would be the living area and the bedrooms.
Right. Yeah.
And that's been for quite a long time. It's not new. It's quite a while. We'll even actually, so I was going to mention, at the instant ground, we'll actually divide up so when we come out of the fire, if we're no longer needed, you're giving your debrief to the entry control and the officer. We then have a hose, with a spray on it, which will lightly mist the fire gear and the BA set. And then we'll go to a decon area and derobe with refreshments. So we'll decon at the incident site, as well as when we get back to station, everything will be bagged up. We'll shower within the hour and be back on the run.
Yeah, it sounds pretty similar to what we're doing here. We've obviously not been doing it as long as I think you have over there. I'd like to see the station designs, the zones, when you say you've got the transitional zones, I'd love to see that here. And I think fire station design is something that has been, I think, drastically mismanaged, and we've missed the mark, I think, in a lot of cases in the UK with fire station design. They're just not a practical layout for decontamination, I think, to reflect the modern fire service and the risks that we're now aware of. I think there's a massive overhaul needed, I think, in terms of fire station design and layout. So
definitely.
It's good. And like you say, it's astounding when you see and you hear that other parts of the world have been doing it this way for 20 years in some cases. And we're kind of just catching on now. We're just so far behind here, so far behind.
It's funny how fire service can be really progressive in one area and really backwards in another. It's not. It was always amazed me. But the decon's really good here, and I'm pretty lucky. My fire station I work at is brand new, so we've got showers downstairs, washing facilities, so we don't actually have to go. We don't have to go upstairs to get showered or anything like that. So I'm pretty fortunate that way. I mean, there's a lot of older fire stations that most probably have the same problem as the UK fire stations, but as they are being replaced in a more of a holistic way to try and keep those carcinogens out. Things like vehicle extraction in the appliance bay.
Big one, yeah.
Yeah. So, and level 2 is not being kept in the appliance bay, kept in a dark room, away from sunlight, all those kind of things they are.
So what's a level 2?
Oh, sorry. Fire gear. So your PPE.
Got you.
Yeah. So our uniform is level 1. Our fire gear is level 2. So we just call it level 2s, but yeah. So no, decon wise, we're very progressive, and the union has been working closely, last couple of years, and we all get blood tested now, on a annually basis, as well as our medical tests.
Right. Well,
so that's a real big step in the direction.
So you get an annual, is that like a full bloods every year, or are they testing for, something, anything specific, or is that just literally just a full blood count every year? And
yes.
Do you get any kind of screening tests or anything like that?
Yeah, there are screening as in like a generic screening. I would be setting you wrong if I told you exactly what I don't actually know. I go and get my bloods taken and have a chat with the doctor. So it's a real kind of, and I think they're trying to build on that with them, because it's quite a new thing, as only maybe 2 or 3 years old. So I think as the years go on, the way it's designed is that it just gets built on. So, we hopefully get up to what Canada are doing, for instance, with their level of screening. It's definitely a good step in the right direction.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, I think we're on the right path. We were told this year that they're going to implement health monitoring for firefighters in the UK next year. Yep. So eagerly anticipating that and seeing what that's going to look like, and if they follow through. So yeah, that'll be, we could be joining you on that one there.
Yeah. And it kind of also lends with presumptive legislation as well, which we don't have here at the moment, which there's a lot of more clever people than I am fighting for that at the moment. So that's kind of an ongoing battle. But the people in that department are definitely talking with the countries that do have it, in the US and Canada. So yeah, I think it's definitely somewhere where we're heading, hopefully.
Yeah, the last episode I did was with a guy called Alex Forrest. He is, do you know the name?
Yeah, I listened to it.
Yeah. Great. Yeah. So you'll know about that. Then I'm sure he's probably I imagine he's involved with the chats over there. I would have thought he's had a big impact on that across the world actually recently. So I would imagine he's involved in that as well. So he's a good guy to be fighting the cause there, definitely.
Yeah, and it's I think it's something that we've been missing for many, many years, and it's good to see the industry globally moving towards having screening, and then when we do get sick, just being able to look after our firefighters. Yeah, that's the main thing, isn't it? Is making sure that support is there, prevention and support. Yeah, the two main things there. So while we're on the topic of health, I wanted to ask about you told me you have a pacemaker fitted.
So
I do.
I've
Yes.
not heard of any firefighters that, I mean, I could be wrong. I'm not aware of any other firefighters that have a pacemaker. So I'd love to know how that has impacted the way you do the job, and
Yeah.
what led to it, and how you discovered that you needed one. And yeah, love to delve into that.
Yeah. So, when did it all start? About 3 years ago. I am now 45. So kind of just put my big toe into the 40s, by a couple of years. And, yeah, pretty much I had a dramatic faint at home. I'd finished a busy night shift, a busy couple of nights. I was pretty tired. Done the family stuff in the morning with gymnastics and whatnot. And then, yeah, just kind of not like a cardiac arrest collapse that we see at work quite a lot. Just literally a bit of a faint. And luckily my wife was here and kind of caught me and sat me down, and she's a pretty switched on lady. So she did a quick fast check for a stroke, and that obviously came back clear. But I was quite groggy and not really with it. Give it another 10 minutes and I kind of started to come around, and we had that typical husband-wife conversation about going to hospital and not going to hospital. She won and I went to hospital. And yeah, I felt a bit of a fraud really going into A&E, and I said, look, I've just had a bit of a faint, but I've a bit of memory loss. And, yeah, so I got rushed straight through to, had some scans done, and they were like, look, we can't, you haven't had a heart attack. You haven't had a stroke, which is good, which I was really worried about. Yeah. And they said, look, we'll keep you in overnight. We'll do an x-ray tomorrow, and we'll whip you up to the cardiology department. Yeah, just to be safe, be home tomorrow. I was like, sweet, really sorry to take up your time. Typical English, apologizing all the time.
Yeah.
And yeah, so the following morning came and I went down to have an x-ray of my heart. And when I came back up, I had an ECG on. It's like a little box you kind of carry around with you. Came back up, and then I woke up on the bed, and I was like, I called the nurse over, and I was like, I'm really sorry, but I think I've kind of collapsed because I don't really remember laying on the bed. So she went and had a look at the ECG, and yeah, my heart stopped for, I think it was like 4 seconds, and then it had a little beat and then stopped for 7 seconds. And so she said, you're going to stay all week now instead of going home. So that was a whole week in the cardiology unit, talking to some absolute legends. Of most of the people were a lot older than me, having every test under the sun. And yeah, at the end of the week, the cardiologists were like, look, because of your age, we don't really know what's wrong. It's not like you've got blocked pipes or a valve that's not working, or we've got no idea. So let's put a pacemaker in just to be safe. But you've got an active job. You're still relatively young. You've got a young family. So yeah, that was kind of the start of my journey back to recovery, and the start of sort of the wheels falling off before they could get put back on, really.
Yeah.
So now a pacemaker. I had it for 3 years, and
Wow.
I really wanted one that kind of lit up, like a triangle with a light, like Tony Stark. But and there's other firefighters in New Zealand that have a pacemaker, so it's not. Cool. I thought I was going to lose my job, and kind of spiraled into a bit of a depression state. But luckily, my service were amazing. They just said, "No, look, you concentrate on getting better. When the time's right, we'll talk, and we'll work through what we need to work through to get you back to work."
Amazing. So, how long were you off the run for then? How long were you out of action?
About 6 months, 6 to 7 months.
Not that long then, actually, really, considering considering what you were dealing with. Not that long.
Yeah. I think it was maybe about 3 months before coming back to work on light duties, and then maybe I might have shot myself short. Maybe about 7 months, I suppose, before coming back on the run. Had to go through a few tests at the hospital, which the fire service wanted me to do, which was fair enough. I don't. And that kind of. That was good, because what I didn't want to do was to be a liability. I think all firefighters don't want to be a liability to their mates. So I really wanted to make sure that when I got on a fire engine, that the person next to me wasn't looking at me sideways going, are you going to be able to do the job? Are you going to collapse again? Are you going to have a funny 5 minutes? So yeah, I kind of worked really hard to get back to a state where I could do the job. And, and it took a while. And the physical side was pretty easy. Because they actually put a pacemaker in under local anaesthetic.
Right. Wow. So they didn't actually put you under.
No.
That's amazing. Were you able to watch them do it then?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So, there's like big screens and, the guy literally just numbs you up, slices your chest open, makes a little pocket like you do with chicken, a roast chicken with butter, feeds the wire into your heart. I had 2 wires, and then puts the generator in, which is the actual kind of pacemaker bit, just puts it under your skin, and sews you back up.
Right. So you just sat back and watched it all?
Yeah, it was quite weird.
I can imagine.
I was desperate for some photos, but he didn't have a camera on him, unfortunately. But yes, so that's kind of how it kind of happened. And then, it was maybe 6 to 7 weeks, I suppose. And, after the incident, I suppose, that I needed to go and see someone. And it was kind of it kind of crept up on me really. All of a sudden I was throwing things across the kitchen, and my wife was like, you need to go and speak to someone, because who you are at the moment isn't the person that we know. So I went and saw a counsellor for about 6 or 7 sessions.
So was this while you were waiting to get back to operational duty, was it?
Yep. Yeah. So this is maybe 6 or 7 weeks after post-op, I suppose, maybe a couple of months after. And it was all down to the worry of not being, when someone, I think I've been in 26 odd years, 7 years or whatever it was, and gone through so many fire services, for someone to turn around and, the cardiologist when I was in hospital said, I don't think you're going to be a firefighter anymore.
Right.
I mean, he didn't.
Said that to you.
Yeah, he didn't know, he doesn't know anything about my job or what we do. And that kind of really rocked me. And even, even when the fire service turned around and said, no, you concentrate on getting better. Because I kind of knew, I was like, coming from the UK where I'd seen people get injured and I'd seen fire services get rid of them so quickly. I had that in the back of my mind. I was like, you're only saying that because I'm just out of surgery and you just want me to get well, and you almost probably try and fire me within a few months. So that kind of, when someone takes away, or you have the possibility of losing your identity, because I think a lot of firefighters put their identity on their job, because that's who we are. It's a status, not a status thing, but it's,
I know what you mean. Yeah.
It's really hard for someone to go, actually, you can't do that anymore. And the 26 years you put into this career, you're actually going to come away with nothing. So that was a real shock. And luckily, again, I listened to my wife and went into a therapist, and she really helped kind of just realign my thoughts. And then work obviously came to the party and said, no, you keep your job, just get better and do the tests and you're good to go. So that was, the physical side of things was easy. The mental side of things was a lot harder to kind of overcome those barriers.
Yeah, but like you say, it is your identity, isn't it? And especially after doing it for that long, you kind of think, I imagine you were battling with, I'm going to have to learn how to be somebody else. Really.
Yeah, I mean, it's, and to do it at, what was it, 42, whatever it was. And, you're still relatively young. And then to go off and try and find another career that is going to pay as much as it does, because you're going to have to start at the bottom. You have to retrain. I've got a mortgage and a child and a wife and all of these things. And it kind of, I used to take the dog for a walk, 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, and just end up just crying, just sobbing, just because I was so worried about losing everything, everything I'd worked so hard for. And it wasn't the case. It was just, at the time, it's all you can see, it's all you can think about, and it kind of becomes overwhelming as such. And it's not until you have the courage to go and see someone and say, look, this is, I don't know how counsellors do it. A good friend of mine, he's a firefighter and he's trained as a counsellor now as well. And I was like, man, I don't know how you do it, because I went to see this lady and I just sat for 60 minutes, cried my eyes out and left again. I don't know what she did. I know exactly what she did, but until you can get someone from outside of your position to kind of just realign your focus, and all of a sudden you can see again. It's like, okay, yeah, I can see the steps I need to do to get back to it.
So what was that? What was the therapy like then? What do you think it was? Because I imagine that, there'll be people listening to this that have maybe had therapy and it's not worked. Maybe, they saw the wrong person at the wrong time, or just, it was the right time, but the wrong person. There's probably people listening that want therapy, don't really know how to go about it, and probably doubt the effectiveness of it. So what do you think it was that kind of unlocked that kind of, that response, that emotional response in you, and what was it that about the therapy that helped you deal with it, do you reckon?
I think as men, majority of firefighters are men and women, but the type of people we are, we don't really talk about stuff. Yeah, we talk about stuff on the back of a truck, and you might say, that was a crappy job, or I'm struggling with the call we had last week, or something like that. It's not. And that blows off a bit of steam and that empties your cup a little bit. But it's not until you actually go and talk to someone and they give you the space just to talk about whatever you want, to unload, just to decompress, I suppose, is a good way of putting it. But yeah, I was relatively fortunate. I know a lot of people, have to go through a couple of counsellors to get one that clicks. And I think in our job, I was quite lucky. My service provides counselling for us and my family. So it was a very quick phone call, just an email, I need to go see someone. And they're like, sweet, someone in your local area. Yep, fine, male, female, whatever. And so that process was pretty easy. The hardest bit was actually just sending the email. It's like when you go to the gym for the first time, the hardest bit is actually just turning up. Because as soon as I was there, they made it very comfortable. There was no pressure. It was not like you see on the movies, very relaxed. And she just allowed me to have space to pour all these emotions out and worries out and give me some guidance around. And a lot of it, I suppose the pacemaker and the issue with keeping my identity in my job was maybe 10% of my time.
Yeah. Right.
Everything else was everything that had gone before that, all the trauma that had happened through my life, all the bits and pieces, things that you don't really think that are events. As soon as you start talking about them and listing them down, it's all these doors get unlocked, and it's like, oh my God, I didn't realize I had all this emotion in me that was from 15, 20 years ago. We spoke about incidents that I'd been to in the retained fire service that were horrific, that I still had weekly nightmares about.
Right.
15 years, 20 years on. So it's kind of, most bodies should have gone 20 years ago to go, but it just kind of took this event to get me in front of her. But yeah, it's, if anyone's listening that is kind of thinking about it, or just go, man, it's just, all you're doing is talking. Like there's no pressure. It's not as hard as doing a busy night shift. It's just literally just talking. Yeah, you might have to find the right one. And I think with us, not all counsellors fit, because we talk in a way. It would be good if you could get a counsellor who was a firefighter or a police officer or an ambulance, someone who can listen. Because some of the things I was saying, I could see on her face were a little bit, she wasn't quite ready for, maybe, some of the events we've been to. Yeah. And, so if you can get someone who has dealt with first responders, dealt with traumatic events, hold on to them, because they're like gold, Do
you know what? You're right. I've had counselling from a couple of different people, and the first one was, I'll just say I didn't gel with the first one, but the second one was also a firefighter. And yeah, he was great. He just got it. He knew exactly where I was coming from. And it wasn't particularly about the fire service. It was largely to do with stuff outside of the fire service for why I was having it. But he just kind of got it, like you said. It was I think it would have been pretty hard to shock him, put it that way.
Yeah. And I think that with workforces, that provide counselling services, you could have someone who deals with a lot of not as much trauma as we see. So it's hard, it might be hard for them to manage that, if you know what I mean. So yeah, if you can find someone who's dealt with first responders before, I think you're in winning, basically.
Yeah. I totally agree. I think that's going to definitely, hopefully give people the push.
Yeah, and it's becoming more and more socially acceptable. It's like cleaning your fire gear. 25 years ago, you'd never clean your helmet. Like, it was always black, or, you wanted it like that. Whereas now, if you get on the truck and you stink of gear, you stink of a fire, everyone's moaning at you. The same with counselling and going to see someone and talking to someone. It's becoming way more acceptable and understanding. And it's, I joined when you don't really talk about your emotions, whereas now, and I think a generational thing as well, a lot of the youngsters coming through are more open to, just talking about how they're feeling, and are more open to going and seeing someone, which is great.
I think you're right. And I think you said earlier, social media, I think, has played a big part in the acceptance of, dyslexia and neurodivergence. And I think, there's some real toxic shit on social media that I think the younger generations particularly need to be wary of. But yeah, social media does have a really good use and a vital place, and it encourages people to open up, doesn't it? And it shows the benefits, and especially when you get people that people look up to, encouraging people to open up and to talk. Yeah, I think if used correctly, it can be a wonderful thing. Yeah,
definitely. Yep. Yeah. You just got to pick the bits that are good and ignore the bits that aren't, really.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Is there anything that you want to explore, anything you want to delve into that we've not kind of covered, or do you want to go into any more detail on anything? I don't want to take up too much of your time. Anything else you want to delve into?
No, it's been good. I think it's, I think a lot of the times we don't talk about problems that we've gone through. Like some people I've spoken to are like, oh, why did you, are you worried about talking about your pacemaker or talking about going to see therapy in the fire service? And there was a little hesitation for me to open up about certain things like that. But if we keep doing that and we keep being stoic and being from that generation of the 80s and 90s where you just harden up and you don't say anything, you just get on and work, then us as a industry will drive ourselves into the ground. So we really need to be brave and talk about things and normalize things, whether it be having health issues, having mental health issues, having difficulties at work, having difficulties at home. If we talk about them more, they become more normal and it becomes more easier to deal with. So no, I think it's, if we normalize things, it just makes it a lot more easier to accept and to deal with. And we're not all of a sudden ending up 20 years into a career at the bottom of whiskey barrel doing something we shouldn't be doing, when we can actually be brave and talk to people and talk to your mates and talk to specialists. But we have to, those going through those problems, not everyone, because it's not for everyone to talk. I've had things at home that I've mentioned at work, and all of a sudden those people have been like, oh, I've just had 2 of those. And we've been struggling, or, we've been going through IVF and we've gone through 3 rounds and I didn't realize other people were going through it. And I'm like, yeah, man, like we're all going through these journeys and through these struggles. But if we don't actually open up and talk to your mates, no one ever knows. So yeah, I think as these podcasts go around and as people are brave enough to get on there and just talk about stuff, it just helps. Hopefully it helps people and go, oh, I'm not alone, or there are other people out there going through these problems and to help, or there are other people that want to move to the other side of the world and, give it a go and give it a nudge. So yeah, no, I think it's COVID had a lot of bad problems, but I think out of COVID come all these podcasts, and the internet, like you said, has some great opportunities to open up avenues to share and to talk and share information. So no, I think it's been a great yarn and a good talk.
Yeah, man, definitely. And thank you for your time and for coming on. And it's been a pleasure to listen to your story. And yeah, you strike me as someone that you've got a lot of worthwhile things to share, and you're obviously comfortable in yourself, and you've had some experiences that have shaped you. And I think you've got a very refreshing approach to the job and to life. So yeah, thanks, mate. And I think hopefully a lot of people will get a lot out of this, and maybe take a leaf out of your book. And just if if especially the mental health stuff, and I think people need a bit of encouragement sometimes to reach out, and it's quite often not as scary as people think it's going to be, is it? So
literally it is just putting words in front of another. The scariest thing is just turning up. That's the hardest thing, but as soon as you do that, you're halfway there.
Yeah, great. So before you go, have you got a book, a movie, and or documentary recommendation for us?
I actually wrote these down. I came prepared. I did my homework.
Brilliant.
So, books.
Yeah.
I listened to your other podcasts, and I totally agree with some of them. Obviously, Jocko Willink's a big one, but one that I've read a couple of times now is Black Box Thinking.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, by Matthew Syed. Highly recommend that one on repeat audio when you're walking the dog. What else? There was another book I was going to mention. Oh, Never Split the Difference.
Okay, not familiar with that.
That is by Chris Voss. He's a FBI negotiator.
Right.
I highly recommend that. It's got some great nuggets. What else? Film. Empire Under the Sun, which was Christian Bale's first film. That was like 1982, I think.
I've not seen that, but it's been on my list for years. I'll have to give it a watch. Yeah,
definitely give it a watch. And in docos, I have got what did we watch the other night at work before I went off? 14 Peaks.
Yes,
NIMS,
yes,
a good doco, and The Rescue, which is about the Thai lads that got stuck in the cave.
Yeah, great.
Most probably everyone's seen those, but they're good docos to watch.
Yeah, cracking. Awesome. Well, cheers, Matt. Thanks for coming on, mate, and thank you for giving your time to this, especially, I think, probably approaching midnight now for you, isn't it? So, nearly. Yeah. So, no, thanks, mate.
Sweet. It's been a real privilege to come on, and thank you very much for the invite.
Yeah, thank you, mate. Yes, mate. Thank you. Absolute pleasure to talk to you. And I'll catch you soon.
Cheers, man. Thanks.
Cheers, mate. See you soon. Bye-bye.
See ya.